You know, of all the great kids shows like Jack Armstrong, Tom Mix, Superman, all of those shows, none of those lead actors are still alive. But through clean living, Ivan Cury is still with us. And I'd like to just do a little interview, a couple of minutes with Ivan Cury. Here's Ivan Cury. So, what year did you begin doing Bobby Benson?
I don't know. I think about 1952, I imagine.
Well, you were very young then. How young were you?
I was 12, so I had to figure out the 12.
And I guess Bobby, the actor in the role of Bobby turned over quite frequently because he was eternally 10 years old, and so people would grow out of it, and their voice would change and so forth, right?
Well, that was it. For me, I wound up leaving that show and going and doing Portia Faces Life, so I was her son, and it paid better.
Okay. Yeah, I had a friend, Kirk Allen, who was on Portia Faces Life, and it was when Portia's husband was in Yugoslavia on a secret mission, and Kirk was playing Stanislaus, you know, the husband's local partner, you know. And one day, I think his name was Manning. Manning says, well, you know, Stanislaus, I'm going back to America now. And Kirk realized, but I'm not going with him, am I? And that was the end of the role.
Another thing that did happen, my voice was changing right about the time I made a move.
Now, who were some of the other actors in Bobby Benson?
Oh, well, the cast
played Bobby Benson.
Yeah, the cast was wonderful. Well, who played Bobby Benson?
Yeah.
Before me, long before me, I've forgotten his name.
Well, way back in the 30s.
Yeah, that would be...
yeah, Billy Hollop was the first one. I was going to, you know, the show started in 32, 76 years ago, and I was planning to ask you if you'd been with the show all that time.
No, I missed that part of it.
Yes, okay.
And then it was the H-Bar-O ranch at the time.
But it's still Bobby Benson.
Right, it was Bobby Benson, and the guy who played Tex Mason was a fellow named Herb Rice, who wound up being producing essentially
the producer, right. And a writer named Peter Dixon wrote for back in the 30s and into the 50s. Yeah. And you said another writer whose work you liked, I think, was Jim Sheehan.
Yeah.
And you said Craig McDonald played both Harka and Irish?
Yeah, the main characters were Charlie Irving, who played Tex Mason, and he was also the guy who said, take soothing Pepto-Bismol and feel good again.
Yes.
He directed the very first, some of the very early television shows, and directed a show we started with a 15-minute show with a new kid named Jack Lemmon. That was a very successful
Whatever happened to him?
He went places, I understand.
Okay.
Then there was Craig McDonald, who played Harka and Irish, and Don Knotts, who played Windy Wales.
Yeah, I think Don Knotts, present company accepted, was probably the most famous person to come out of that show.
Oh, probably. Yeah, yes. I would think so.
So anyway,
but wait, you know, that may not entirely be true, because some of the heavies, Everett Sloan, for example, was a regular heavy on the show, and there were other really fabulous actors doing crazy parts.
And I know Frankie Thomas told me that he was frequently on there, and it seemed like they reused the script over and over again. He said, you know, they'd write him in, and they call him the Oklahoma Kid, or sometimes the Kansas Kid, and he said, well, if you call me the Durango Kid, we're going to get in trouble. But, so this is it. There you've met Ivan Cury.
Thanks.
Now we'll start the show.